Coming up, I'll show you the latest updates to Yammer, including the role that Yammer can play in driving viral adoption of content in your SharePoint environment, new integrated video experiences, how working with files in Yammer is now easier than ever with the native OneDrive and SharePoint integrations, using connectors and Flow to pull in content from third-party services, and how the new Office 365 Connected Groups experience can unlock great new functionality across the suite. Finally, I'll share the simple admin steps to make these capabilities light up for your network. Yammer offers SharePoint an additional modality for collaboration through the ability to add conversations to your sites. It's a means of facilitating fast and broad-reaching communications across your company without the need to necessarily know who the end recipients will be. For example, here's one of the new SharePoint communication sites. These sites allow you to share beautifully curated content across your entire organization. And what we can do now is add a Yammer web part to that to make it much more engaging. To do this, we first need to establish a Yammer group. I have one that Katoso Adventure Travel recently created to run a campaign to crowdsource ideas from their travel agents who are spread right around the world. So you can see in this group, there's lots of photos, links to websites, and documents that people have shared as part of the campaign. Now, to embed this Yammer conversation in the SharePoint site, I first need to copy the group's URL. In SharePoint, I edit the page. I scroll down to where I want to insert the feed, and I select the Yammer web part from the gallery, paste in the URL I just copied, pick the size I'd like, hit publish, and now we have a Yammer conversation embedded within the SharePoint site. So now let's have a look at this conversation on the page. As we scroll down, we can see here Isaiah has shared an announcement that the CEO made about who won the campaign. By clicking on this link, it takes me directly to the thread on Yammer that he's referring to. And we can see here the video of the CEO's town hall. And if we scroll down, we can see all the related conversations to that video. Now, we've always been able to include Vimeo and YouTube links in Yammer, and those videos will play inside the stream. But what we're adding today is the ability to have authenticated video from services such as Microsoft Stream or Office 365 Video. Now, let me show you how that works. Inside Microsoft Stream, I have this video that I want to share onto the Yammer thread. So I click share, I take the URL, and then when I'm back in Yammer, I can paste that in. Yammer will pick that up that it's a video, and when I click post, it will render that directly within the Yammer feed. And we can now watch the video in the context of Yammer, see its views, likes, and conversations happening around it. So beyond integrating Yammer with SharePoint sites or videos hosted in Office 365, you can also interact with content from external sources using connectors. Now, while this is new to Yammer, you may be familiar with the connector services in Outlook and Microsoft Teams. In this example, we want to stay abreast of all the latest news relating to the ecotourism industry. So you can set up a connector to Bing News to capture that additional information from the market. Now, to add a connector to a group, we click Add Connector. We scroll through the list until we find the connector we want to add, in this case, Bing News, and click Add. Then you can give it a name and select the topic. I can pick the time I'd like the post to be delivered and click Save. Now, in this case, we've already created one earlier, and you can see that Bing News has posted to the group with the latest updates around ecotourism. Now, I can reply to this and add people from my organization who I think this would be relevant to. For more advanced scenarios, you can use Microsoft Flow to apply business logic and perform multiple steps. So as you can see, within Flow, I've filtered by the Yammer templates. Now, Flow allows you to connect Yammer to SharePoint, Dynamics, Outlook, and many other third-party services. For example, if I wanted to share the latest company news out to Twitter, Facebook, and Yammer, I could use a Flow template like this one. You can see here, when an email arrives, I send it for approval. If it gets approved, it will automatically post to Twitter, Facebook, and Yammer and send out a notification. If it doesn't get approved, it will send out a notification to say that it wasn't. So Flow allows you to share to and from external services, but we've also added deep integration between Yammer and documents stored in SharePoint and OneDrive for Business. You can now attach your files from your OneDrive and SharePoint locations directly in Yammer. In this example, we can see Adele's asking me for a copy of a report. Now, I know this file is stored in SharePoint, and with the new file picker in Yammer, I can select files stored both in SharePoint, but also on OneDrive for Business. So you can see here, I have access to all my OneDrive for Business files, but I can also see all the SharePoint sites that I'm a member of across the suite. If I click on Finance Team, I see the file that she requested. I hit Select. type a quick message, hit post, and it will paste a link from the file in the SharePoint library. Conversely, every Yammer group is now connected to the Office 365 group service. So when you create a new group in Yammer, and let's give it a name, Ecotourism in California, I can add some group members. Now, when I create a group, two things are happening. A new object is getting created in Azure Active Directory, where the name of the group, membership, and other details are being created. But in the background, we're also provisioning all the related Office 365 resources, like a SharePoint document library, a SharePoint site, a shared OneNote for the team, and a planner to keep track of our tasks. Because all your Yammer groups now exist in your Azure Active Directory, by virtue of being an Office 365 group, you can now share files to Yammer groups within your Office 365's apps and services. As you can see here, I have a presentation in PowerPoint and I can share it to a Yammer group directly from within the app. To do that, I click Share, and because this Yammer group now exists inside Active Directory, when I search for the name, the group I just created will appear in the list. I can select that, hit Share, and this will do two things. Post a message to the Yammer group with a link to the document, but it's also going to provision the right access to that document to all those group members. So as you can see, managing and sharing content from right across Office 365 is now much easier with Yammer and SharePoint. And if you're an Office 365 administrator, your Yammer groups can be managed just as you do today with Office 365 groups. What's new today is that you can now create Yammer groups with dynamic membership, and you do this within the Azure AD portal. Firstly, you can see when I click on Groups, it's going to list all the existing Yammer groups along with the Office 365 groups. I can come down, and then I click on the Finance team, and then I click Configure. And from here, I can set up the rules of how the membership of this group will work. In this instance, I want to make sure that everyone in the finance department is automatically added to the group. Now, as people join or leave the team, the group membership is automatically updated. Now, the value here is that we're making sure that the right people are always part of the right groups with the right permissions. Now, this is also reflected in the Yammer UI. You can see here, I can't add or remove members to this group because the group membership is now controlled by the dynamic group rules that we just set up in Azure AD. The last thing I want to show you is how to make sure all these capabilities we've gone through today light up for your tenant. The key to this is to enforce Office 365 identity in Yammer. As an admin, ensure in your security settings that you're enforcing Office 365 identity. Once you've committed to that and hit save, your Office 365 connected Yammer groups will be enabled. So whether it's in Yammer or SharePoint, we're allowing you to work where you feel most comfortable. These experiences are connected, so you can get to your conversations and content wherever you are. Everything I've shown you today is either already available or begin rolling out. To learn more about these great new features and to stay current with the latest updates or get first access to new features, follow the link below to join the Yammer Service Update group. Thanks for watching.